Hey guys, my name is Miska, welcome to HitScan. Jeff Kaplan has once again been answering various questions in front of an audience, seems to be doing this quite a lot recently. But this time at a university, and a lot of it was kind of about game development, more from like a production standpoint and just maintaining Overwatch and where that is going right now. To give some background, Jeff was at USC in California, a university, and he was answering some questions in front of a class. This seems to have been a pretty chilled out sort of Q&A, so no press grilling them about things. This person live tweeting it said fairly early on in their live tweet said, Echo is a character but not officially a hero yet. We did already know this, but hey, it's nice to see it mentioned again and a little bit odd honestly, I didn't expect that. Jeff then talked quite a bit about game design, his inspirations, he talked a little bit about sound design and some other things like that. You can check out the full Twitter thread in the top comment if I remember to actually link it. But then we got to some pretty interesting PTR details, and this is where I wanted to stop and analyze and talk a little bit. The tweet just reads, on why PTR has slowed down. 1. Concurrent players is low. Peak was 60,000 players for role queue. Now that might sound like quite a bit, and honestly it is, but that was also around the time where Sigma was added. It was the first time to properly play Sigma in a competitive environment, and it was of course role queue, so it was a pretty big deal. So that's probably around the peak of where the PTR gets. To put that in perspective, we can look at Steam charts right now and see that peak for the past 30 days for a game like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is 665,000, CSGO has 708,000, Dota 2 has 708,000 as well, Destiny 2 on nearly 200,000. You get the idea. These games are huge games on Steam, and these are just their PC player bases. 60k in that comparison is definitely not bad, but that is peak PTR ever. Right now, there's probably not a whole lot of players on the PTR. It would surprise me if it's over 10,000. It'd surprise me if it's over 5,000 honestly. And that combined with regions all over the world makes those player bases very scattered, and it makes it very difficult to find games. Moving on. 2. Sometimes they can't get enough people on PTR to even make a match. This is kind of related to point 1 obviously. And then 3, not your fault, but player psychology is weird on PTR. Also very true, I think we all know this. How people just don't play properly and they'll leave games when they don't get the character, all that sort of stuff. Either way, moving on to 4, e.g. they'll make a change for Hanzo, but people will only play for 6 minutes on average. So that's kind of like a good way to wrap up the whole PTR problem. I do think personally that maybe Blizzard are a bit obsessed with trying to get people onto the PTR without actually rewarding them, but still valuing the stats and all the data they get from there very highly, meaning that they have a system that people don't really want to use, are not encouraged to use, and that's also not fun to use, yet Blizzard need people to use it and really want people to use the PTR more. That's definitely a bit of a problem for Overwatch in terms of the various updates on there. But honestly, when it comes to patches recently, we had a really good one in, I believe it was September now, maybe early October, a pretty big patch. And of course we had this recent PTR patch that was also a big PTR patch. And with those 2 months in between there of these pretty significant PTR patches and having BlizzCon in the middle, I don't really have a problem with that pace. I feel like PTR has always been this sort of pace of maybe every other month we get a pretty significant major PTR patch, and other than that it's just kind of quiet with some odd changes here and there. Moving on to content though, as that's obviously a big talking point right now in Overwatch, leading up to Overwatch 2 and all that stuff, we have this interesting tweet. For Overwatch/Overwatch 2, they're gonna start rethinking the event calendar. Jeff wants you to know this, not sure what that means, but sure. Possibly retiring some, as in removing some events and not having those in that event calendar rotation for a bit. He thinks Overwatch 2 should bring in more new events. Designing them, he's referring to Sid Meier's rule of thirds. 1/3 new, 1/3 same, 1/3 improved. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. To begin with, the event calendar has obviously been something that the entire Overwatch content calendar, as we like to call it on this channel, or content plan, roadmap, whatever you want to call it, has revolved around. The events coming out around the same dates every single year with heroes around those events, you know, just before, just after. It's pretty easy to map out the entire content plan for previous years of Overwatch and has been pretty easy to predict that, but this has been changed about a little bit recently, as we noticed at BlizzCon we didn't get a hero for Overwatch 1, we instead got just a bunch of Overwatch 2 details, and now we've had Jeff say that we are planning to at least fit one more hero in before Overwatch 2. Now, I think it's great that we're gonna have some cool new events for Overwatch 2, but again, if that's in very, very late 2020 or 2021, which seems more likely at this point, this is kind of my main worry here. So if we look at a normal hero release schedule, we would get one in November, another one here in February coming up, and then another one after that in about June sort of time when Hammond or Sigma were released, for example. Then we get another one next year at BlizzCon in November, and then another one in February 2021. Pretty straightforward. This is the normal hero release schedule with 5 heroes under the total. Now, instead, we've had Blizzard at BlizzCon and elsewhere say that, oh, we'll fit probably 1 hero in before Overwatch 2.
We have plans for at least 1 new hero to hit the live service that's outside of Overwatch 2.
And we didn't get one at this BlizzCon, which is understandable in a way, but let's put that one in November to February instead, so February 2020. Then we've heard that we're gonna get quite a few characters for Overwatch with the Overwatch 2 launch, which will obviously affect both games as Overwatch 1 becomes Overwatch 2. We've had that talk many times. Point is, a lot of these hero releases from this 5 over the course of a fairly long time becomes 1 in February 2020 and then just 4 in February 2021, which is just a preset date for when Overwatch 2 could be released. Alright, so if you look at these and you compare them, you kind of see the thing that I think a lot of people are worried about, which is that extreme content drought for Overwatch there. Whilst in a way this might seem a little bit like puzzling together a conspiracy theory of some sort, I'm definitely not the only one that's made this connection. This was the main comment I saw on that video where I first talked about Jeff's reaction to the whole "how many heroes will you release before Overwatch 2" type of question that I asked at BlizzCon. This is the answer that he has given, that they will have probably at least 1 planned. So we have that 1 planned in there, and then we have a pretty significant number, 4 new heroes at launch there for Overwatch 2. This looks pretty realistic, and I'm not sure if they have a solid plan to make up for the fact that we have so many months here where there's no major content drop. New maps would be cool and all, but we've seen a lot of new maps teased at BlizzCon, and it was kind of like Overwatch 2 maps. They were labeled as Overwatch 2 maps. If you go to Play Overwatch website and you go to Overwatch 2 right now, those 3 maps are under the Overwatch 2 section as well. So what will we get during these next few months? And this is what brings me to the next part of this news bit, by the way. We are moving on to some potential leaks that I personally don't feel like are very likely to be true, but I've seen a lot of talk about, and it's related to this whole content calendar thing, so let's get into it. At Compe on Twitter shared some possible leaks of content that will be leading up to Overwatch 2 and some events basically, which seem to have been taken from an internal expo is what my Twitter translation by Google is telling me. The pictures kind of speak for themselves though. It looks like it would be kind of a PowerPoint that says that in February 2020 we would get something like a Helmet Heart Challenge. It's Brigitte's Helmet Heart Challenge. In June 2020, we would get Zenyatta's Iris Challenge with a cool Zenyatta skin, I imagine, and some details about the Zenyatta Iris Challenge as well on another slide with new short story by Michael Chu, new community challenge, 7 new community collaboration spray designs, collaboration with Twitch streamers, public relations, 1 legendary skin, human Zenyatta under the design department as well. So these are pretty much like the previous challenges we've seen, the Ana Bastet challenge, the very recent Mercy Recall challenge, that Nano Cola challenge with D.Va. You get the idea. You get a few sprays over time and icons in various ways. You have the streaming thing going on with drops as well, a short story or a comic or something like that to go with it, in this case a short story by Michael Chu. And this does line up with things like comments from developers saying that they will do more of these types of events, that we would be getting some Zenyatta lore at some point. This could definitely be addressing that. But there's a few things that makes me suspicious. 1, Brigitte's name is spelt wrong on this logo. And 2, this logo here is, if anything, a placeholder logo, but it actually looks, I don't really want to say bad, but it is, however, so easy to fake that I don't think it's really worth taking for granted. However, what I think is not very far-fetched to assume is that we will be getting more of these types of challenges going into next year. So even if it's not these challenges at all, and that these were just faked and made in Photoshop in just a few minutes, hell, I could make this in Photoshop in just 10 minutes. We're at least talking about that content plan leading up to Overwatch 2, and I think that's very important, and I hope that Blizzard realized that. Let me know if you think these leaks are real or not. You can put that in the comments below. I'll try and link the source of that again if I remember to, because I've been really bad at linking stuff recently. Sorry about that. Like I said, even if these are fake, I think it's worth at least just discussing this type of content plan, as it's so crucial for Overwatch right now. That's everything. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.